ready to grow. Good evening and welcome to the program. This week coming to you from the Buffalo County Fair. We're going to be talking about the role of migrant workers in agriculture and about the role of women on the farm. And later we sit down with State Ag Director Greg Ibaugh. But we start tonight with headlines, and that includes a new water task force that's identifying water conservation projects and funding sources to ensure Nebraska has an adequate supply. Members met for the first time recently to try and address the state's water priorities. The chairman, State Senator Tom Carlson of Holdridge, says Nebraska needs to develop a new approach to avoid what he calls a bankruptcy situation in which the state consistently uses more than it receives. The Water Task Force is required to report its recommendations back to the legislature by the end of the year. Controlling invasive plant species along the Republican River Valley is a big theme of an upcoming workshop. The event starts August 7th with an indoor conference focused on forestry issues. Then August 8th will feature an all-day bus tour looking at projects like tree pruning, channel excavation, and invasive vegetation control. Those workshops are free and open to the public. Nebraska agriculture relies on migrant workers, something we recently sat down with caseworkers to talk more about.
During the summer months, migrant workers flock to Nebraska for work, but making the change isn't always an easy task. Proteus helps with this transition, and joining me today I have case manager Jody Stutzman to share more on how Proteus can help. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
First of all, what services does Proteus provide to people?
Our main goal is job placement, so we provide job training services such as help with resumes, how to succeed in the job once they get it. We also provide education services, so we have intensive case management and follow the participant as they're getting their education until they complete that, and then we help them find the job once they've completed the education.
So who are you focusing on then in this program?
In this area, it's really seasonal farm workers. The migrant farm workers that are here right now, they travel with the different produce seasons. So they're here for detasseling right now, and that's what they do is just move. So we really focus on the seasonal farm workers that live in our communities and do the seasonal farm work here.
And you're in charge of handing out some grant money too, is that correct?
Yes, the grant has been around since the 70s, and it's called the National Farm Workers Jobs Program. It's in every state, so we work with individuals and determine what their needs are. So if someone comes to us and they want to get their CDL license, we work with them when they go through the class. We can assist with paying for that education, and then while people are going to school, it's hard for them to work. So we also provide a $5 an hour stipend for each hour that they're in class a week. And then we can also assist them with books and supplies. And if they need it, we can assist with food, gas to get to class, or gas to go find jobs.
That's great, because like you said, it is really tough to work and go to school at the same time. So if people want a little bit more information about this program, do you guys have a website or a phone number they can call?
Yeah, my office is in Grand Island, but I cover the Tri-City region, and they can call my office number, which is 308-382-0414. They can also look us up on our website, which is proteusinc.net.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to put a link to that on our website later too, nebraska.tv.
It's the peak of strawberry season, but in California, there's a lack of migrant workers to pick them. Producers say that's because of tighter borders and immigration concerns. Reporter David Louie has more from California.
Buscas trabajo? Looking for work, it asks in Spanish. This is the first time ever signs like this one have popped up next to the strawberry fields. It's coming up on peak season, and there is a shortage of strawberry pickers in Watsonville. Growers are recruiting aggressively, offering valuable perks.
There's some farmers that do provide health care. Even they have their own clinics. They have their own they provide a lot of other services. discount.
Higher pay as well. 2 growers are even planning a vehicle drawing to retain workers. The problem, according to workforce experts, is the improving Mexican economy and greater difficulty crossing the U.S. border. The 400 family-owned strawberry growers need between 25 and 30,000 workers at peak season, and the shortage stretches beyond this area.
Santa Maria, a grower that has 200 jobs available, he doesn't have the people and decided to cut 25 acres of his harvest this year. So that's a serious problem for him, and he would love to have 200 workers.
Watsonville strawberry growers worry some of their crop won't get picked and go to waste. It costs them $18,000 to $20,000 an acre to plant and cultivate their fields. That could ultimately push up prices for fresh strawberries. Strawberry field crews are an elite group. They can make $12 to $25 an hour, but not everyone has the skill or experience to pick the numbers required to reach that pay level, a combination of a base and piece rate. The tight labor market lets them choose where they will work. The California Strawberry Commission is taking the labor shortage to Washington next week to engage with lawmakers to try to convince them that the problem should also be part of the discussion on immigration reform. In Watsonville, David Louie, ABC 7 News.
How do farmers know when the price is right? They play not Plinko, but Piglinko. The Chicago Mercantile Exchange has turned commodity markets into a carnival touring county fairs. Youth in 4-H facilitate games to educate kids about what it takes to break even on the farm.
I don't think they understand how much it costs to feed the animals and put the meat on their tables at the end of the day.
I think they couldn't even believe the amount of money that you put into it.
That commodity carnival was recently featured at Adams County Fairfest. It'll be in North Platte later this month for the Lincoln County Fair as well. The role of women in agriculture is shifting, and it hasn't gone unnoticed. The Women in Agriculture organization held a workshop in Kearney this past week. UNL Extension holds these events throughout the year as a place for networking and support.
You have a tendency to think when you're farming and ranching that you're the only one with these problems, or you're the only one with certain things going on, and when you come to things like this, you find out you aren't, and you find out people that have dealt with some things or have done those things already.
Workshops focus on issues women in the area have expressed concern with, like transition planning on the farm.
Stay in touch with your accountants, with your lawyers, and that sort of thing, and that's what this is. So these ladies will be up to date on what's available to them and what they need to do with their own home farming, ranching operations.
And if you're interested in getting involved with Women in Agriculture, you can find that information on our website at nebraska.tv. As we said, transition planning on the farm was a big focus of that Women in Agriculture conference. So we want to know in this week's poll question if you have a transition plan. Yes, you have a plan to pass the farm on to the next generation. No, you don't have a plan, or you plan to sell the farm. Log in and cast your vote at nebraska.tv. Just click on NTV's Grow. Last week we asked you, what's the right age for kids to begin detasseling? You voted. Here's what you had to say in that unscientific poll. While Nebraska agriculture continues to make inroads in Asia, Kansas does the same. Our neighbors to the south have signed an agreement with China's Henan province. Governor Sam Brownback says Kansas and China will work together on food safety and bioscience research. It follows 3 decades of goodwill missions from Kansas to the Henan province. Recent hot and dry weather certainly hasn't helped our crops much. Experts say crops that have not been irrigated are starting to show signs of stress. The USDA says pockets of rain early and late in the week last week did little to help the overall condition as crops near their peak demand for moisture. Both topsoil and subsoil moisture supplies declined last week. Irrigated corn still rates 82% good or excellent, while dryland corn rates only 45% good or excellent. And down in Kansas, spotty rain showers across much of the state this past week were too little to improve drought conditions. The National Agricultural Statistics Service reports dryland farm crops and pastures continue to suffer. The agency says it has received reports of failed corn and sorghum crops in areas missed by the rain, as well as fields damaged by hail or winds. The Kansas corn crops condition has declined, with 30% considered in poor to very poor shape. Grasshopper numbers, though, are falling thanks to a cool spring. A recent survey shows that there are less than 10 grasshoppers per square yard. Good news for many farmers and ranchers because they may not have to treat their land for these pests. Although a couple of counties are battling high numbers, experts say for the most part, the numbers will continue to remain low into the fall. A Nebraska agribusiness plant has been named one of the safest to work for. The Syngenta Omaha Production and Supply Facility has been recognized with the Platinum Award of Honor from the National Safety Council of Nebraska. The site manager for Syngenta says they earned the honor by creating a culture of putting safety first. We're growing deeper. Up next, a conversation with State Ag Director Greg Eyeball.
I'm Bailey Ditmer, I'm from Sumner, and I like to show cattle.
Hello, my name's Zachary Rupchek. I'm from Amherst, and I like showing pigs at the fair.